Billie Jo, and today we're going to go over how to groom your horse. Grooming is very important to do daily with your horse because the act of grooming and rubbing your horse's skin actually increases blood flow and can make their coat healthier and shiny, which is really good for Cutter because he has Cushing's. So anything we can do to help his coat is great. Is that right? And then also it's a great time to check over your horse for any abnormalities, cuts, injuries, and it's also just a great bonding experience that you can do on days that you can't ride. So what we're going to do first, a lot of times when people hear grooming horses or any animals, they think that they just need to brush them. But grooming is really their whole body, and a horse is nothing without their feet. So I always start with their hooves. So if you want to come this way, cross-eyes, good boy Cutter. We'll ask him to pick up his hoof, and we'll take our hoof pick and pick at his frog creases, and then around the outside of the hoof. When I pick hooves, I always check for thrush, which is kind of black and stinks, and then checking for white line. A great thing that I use that's good for both thrush and white line is Bannex. So I just spray it in there kind of daily, and it just kind of helps with any kind of fungus or bacteria growth, and it's just really great stuff. It's great for rain rot too. And while I'm looking at his hoof, I check for any scrapes, abscesses, or cuts, and just overall his hoof health, and I also feel for heat in his hoofs. The next thing that we do is we take our curry. This is a soft curry. The bristles of it bend, so it's really good for horses with sensitive skin. So currying, the curry comb is used to break up any dirt or sweat that has kind of got caked in his fur. And like I said, currying is really good for helping to increase blood flow throughout his skin and coat. And then some horses will tell you their favorite spots to curry. And for this video purpose, I'm only going to do one side of his body. You'll just reciprocate everything I say to the other side. Because this is soft, it is okay to use on his legs. So that's a curry comb. And then the next tool we're going to use is called a hard or dandy brush. The bristles are have a little more resistance, and it's used to kind of flake off all that dirt that we just had. Where Cutter has Cushing's, he has a very thick coat, so it makes it hard to get everything out of here. He's also at Appaloosa, so sometimes his spots look like dirt. Making sure to get in the girth area, especially when riding. I also take this time to look at his sheath area and assess for any bugs or abnormalities there. The next brush that I like to use for grooming my horse at this time of the year, since it is April and I live in North Carolina, is the shedding blade. So now that we've knocked off all the dirt that we could, we're going to help him try to shed out a little bit, especially because Cutter has Cushing's and it's hard for him to shed this out. Cutter does not have sensitive skin, so he loves this. But some horses hate to be shed with this type of shedding blade. They make other ones that are a little bit softer. And if they really don't like to be shed out, you can always clip them, which is taking like dog clippers or horse clippers and just shaving off some of their coat. Another thing I like to do, since I've went over all of that, I come to the back of my horse's tail and check his bottom for any abscesses or anything that could affect his health. He clearly needs a butt bath, but that's okay. But I always check there. And then the next brush that we'll use It's called a finishing brush. It's softer, it kind of helps their coat to be smoother. This is my favorite brand, the Haas brand. That's just a plug that I like them. But it's a really good, they have lots of good brushes, they're just really expensive. So you'll brush over all of this. And he's sweaty in here. So I may not be able to get all that out without giving him a bath, but it is 45 degrees here today, so we will not be getting a bath. And this is just stain caked in dirt. The next step I like to do is their mane and tail. I don't really like to mess with their face till the end, just because we're working on this area and I don't want to miss anything. So this is mane and tail detangler. Cutter has a lovely mane for an Appaloosa. He really has a good one. So we just spray a little bit in there, let that sit. And then I spray it in his tail. He also has a great tail for an Appaloosa. Ain't that right? Alright. Let's see. So then I'll use my mane and tail brush. It doesn't have to be this specific kind. You can literally use your own big hairbrush. I like these because the bristles don't pull out. Just brush it. And he always looks funny with his mane brush because he's got a thin mane. Ways that you can progress with your grooming is you can learn to do braids that help your horse keep their mane off their neck in the hot seasons or for shows. You can also learn how to clip, like I said earlier, where you literally take like shaving tools and shave their coat off. I have to do that a lot with some of the other horses that I work with that have Cushings, in particular, or just really thick manes. I mean, not manes, coats. And because his mane and tail is so thin, he doesn't really get too tangled, which is great. I think that is all of my tools. You can also use Thrush Buster for the thrush that we talked about earlier. But Bannex is just a good all around for everything if you buy one thing. So I love that stuff. The last thing that we're going to do is groom his face. When I groom a horse's face, I first just look over everything, let him know I'm here, check his eyes, make sure there's no drainage or swelling going on. I look at his nose and make sure there's no bugs in there. I also run my fingers through their ears real quick just to make sure there's no bugs in there, and then sometimes they like a good scratch. I like to check there, make sure there's no bugs. Sometimes ticks like to hang out there. And then I'll take my face brush, which is really soft as you can tell, and I just run that over his face very gently for the first brush. I try not to annoy him too much. I feel like it would be kind of weird sensory-wise for me. Brush all that. And then Mr. Cutter gets his grain soaked because he has a wave mouth. And also he just likes it that way. Kind of like morning coffee for him. But he likes to stick his nose all the way in there, so this is a damp cloth that I'll take to rub his face. He likes it. Okay. Get all that balancer and senior feed off of you the best we can. I'll put it back on there by the end of the day. I'm also going to gently rub over his eyes because he's got a little mud. And that's probably about as good as I can get with him today. Just because he's going to be up in his stall and he'll probably end up getting dirty from all the hay. The last thing that I do for grooming is I like to check over my horse's mouth. Cutter may not let us do that, but I like to check for teeth. the best I can. Sometimes I get hay in the top of their teeth, but Cutter has great teeth, as you can tell, in the front at least, not in the back. So he doesn't have any hay or anything stuck in there. I also like to check because then you can catch things early if he has a bad tooth or things like that, and it makes deworming and things like that easier. But yeah, so just to review, grooming is very important to assess your horse's health and to help their coats do a little bit better, and just a great bonding experience. If you have any questions, just let me know, and thank you for watching.